The king of the underworld, Lucifero, might be making his entrance sooner than we all expected, and truth be told, I was pretty shocked learning about this in a recent chapter, mainly because I, like many people, viewed Lucifero as an endgame villain since if he emerged, the world is doomed. Recently, we learned that Morris is also the devil host for Lucifero, which I speculated in the past since he had the same devil markings as Dante, although this should have been pretty obvious. And so, thanks to Morris and his Endeavor-enhanced modification magic, he modified the Cleopatra tree to where Lucifero's emergence will occur after the second gate opens. Although, I'm hoping we get more clarification on this, whether or not it's just Lucifero manifesting, or is it all three devils from level 7, or maybe it's Lucifero and the second level devil. Anyways, what I'm here to explain is why I believe Lucifero potentially coming out this early makes more sense than I first thought it would. Let's talk about that. If we look at what's been accomplished during the invasion so far, we have beating two Supreme Devils, Lilith and Nama, the Supreme Devil Megacula in her 1/3 state, the Dark Disciples, an Ancient Demon, and lastly, the Dark Triad. It's been a series of wins for the Magic Knights, and although they weren't easy fights, they were still wins without long-term consequences. However, here's the issue with ending the arc with stopping the gates from opening and Morris escaping only to try again another time. The issue is, if that happens, we're going to have a repetitive arc in the future that involves another retrieval arc involving Yami and Vengeance. Remember, those two are the only piece needed for the ritual, so if Morris escaped, then he either has to take those two with him or come back for him in the future, which would essentially be the Dark Triad arc all over again. However, I'm thinking way too linear here, because there is another place he could escape to, and that's the Underworld. But if he does go there, you can bet he's not going alone. No sir. The one who gets dragged along with him would be Asta and Lebe. Why? Because a new possibility for opening the gates to the Underworld is created, and it involves using anti-magic to destroy the gates of each level in hell. But why would Asta do that in the first place? Well, I don't think he'll have a say in that, but I'll get to that later. Whether or not he destroys the gate with anti-magic will rely heavily on Morris' modification magic. Here are two possibilities I see. Morris will use his modification magic to modify Asta's anti-magic so it's capable of destroying the gates to the Underworld if it already isn't capable of that now. The second possibility is Morris modifies the Underworld gates itself so that it can be destroyed by anti-magic. Or he modifies it so that the devils can pass through the gates regardless of them having magic or not. However, both possibilities involve anti-magic. Now back to my recent question as to why Asta and Lebe would destroy the gates to the Underworld. Well, as I said, I don't think they'll have a say because Lucifero will be controlling them. We've seen it happen to Lebe once in his backstory, and now I'm predicting Asta is up next by Lucifero appearing through Asta's arm. So if all the gates fail to open and Morris escapes, it will be to the Underworld with Asta and Lebe. This is the best way to avoid another repetitive retrieval arc for Yami and Vengeance. In addition, the two of them will not have to die in order for all the Cleopatra devils to come out. Instead, we now have a situation where both can survive and all devils will be freed. And here's another interesting piece you should know about. The devils leaving the Underworld by going through the gates itself, but not from the Cleopatra ritual, is probably a more interesting path to take. Why? Well, let's think back to when Lebe came to the human world from passing through the gates. He appeared in a random area in the human world. If that's the case for all the devils, then all the devils that pass through the gates after it's destroyed will probably be scattered across the world. This will now create a situation for exploring new areas in the Black Clover world because they're now being overrun by devils and the Magic Knights are hunting them down. Now, let's talk about the alternative to stopping the ritual, which would be Lucifero emerging from the second gate. Now, before the Spade Kingdom invasion, everyone that faced the Dark Triad and lost understood the gap in power between them and knew just how stronger they had to get in order to defeat the Dark Triad the second time around. Right now, we're in a position to get a new major threat, whether it be Morse, Lucifero, or both. Most likely both though. But anyways, if Lucifero does manifest, knowing how powerful he is, it opens the door to two things. The first is having a new baseline for how strong the Magic Knights must get in order to face him. But not only that, by aiming to reach Lucifero in power, whether that's possible or not, will ultimately allow the main characters to surpass or at least be on par with the devils below him. Second are the storylines Tabata can jump into from here. You have the world potentially getting thrown into turmoil because of Lucifero's emergence, or we could also have exploring the interventions of gods, since Lucifero is most likely going to be too much for the Magic Knights to handle, since the world is literally threatened by his presence. You'll also have new long-lasting consequences piling up, and we get to see how the Magic Knights deal with them for the first time since this arc started. Well, that's if they survive. I mean, when Lucifugos was summoned, he killed everyone in the room outside of Morgan without moving. I can't possibly imagine Lucifero not topping that, so this one really up for debate. Not to mention, with Lucifero's emergence, the Magic Knights would be forced into a tough spot where they would have to decide whether or not they're going to stop Lucifero from destroying the world, not happening, but they'll also have to stop the gates from continuing to open. They'll have to decide between the two. And I'm assuming that it's just Lucifero coming out. I'm not even assuming that it's the three rulers. Until we get some more clarification on that, I'm just going with Lucifero. But if it's those three, then the series is over. I mean, this is going to be the first time villains come out on top. I mean, these guys are supposed to be the three strongest villains in the series. So if they come out, well, I guess Black Clover's over. But in all seriousness, that's my prediction for how things would go if Lucifero manifested into the human world. So to simplify everything I said, right here and right now, you see what I did there? Right here and right now provides the best opportunity in the story to carry out the devil storyline and prevent a repetitive retrieval arc involving Yami and Vengeance in the future, whether it's heading to the Underworld or Lucifero emerging from the second gate. Alright, that's it for me. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super hyped for the possibility of exploring the Underworld, and I'm also hyped for a potential manifestation from Lucifero and maybe the three rulers as well. We'll just have to wait and see. But if I'm gonna have to pick between which one I'd rather see first, I think I'd rather see an Underworld exploration arc first because of the reason I explained earlier with devils appearing in the human world at random locations if Asta and Li Bei destroy the gates to the Underworld and they pass through them. However, you also have Julius, who really got me thinking that Lucifero was coming out because he looked sick to his stomach in this latest chapter. I mean, he said something huge was about to emerge, so that makes me believe that Lucifero just might be coming into the human world. But anyways, I want to know how you feel in the comments below. Alright, have a good